Welcome back to another mock draft Monday here, actually on Monday. Kind of been sporadic over the past couple weeks, but I'm joined by James Foster of No Flags Film and one half of the Daft On Draft podcast. We wanted his other half in here as well. Other half doesn't sound exactly right, but technical difficulties. We're going to reconvene later, but their links will be down in the description. How you doing today, James?
Doing great. We had an awesome 8-pick mock draft that the world will never see, but ready to knock this one out.
There was absolute chaos. We might see more of that as well. I'll give you the first overall pick. I'll take the second, and so on. Are you going to be trading out of this?
Yeah, so I think that I am going to definitely be trading down. The way I see it, this is a 2-quarterback class, if I had to guess, with Dante Moore and Fernando Mendoza. And I think there are definitely more than 2 quarterback-needy teams. And so Titans and potentially the Saints, if they decide to stick with Tyler Shough, could potentially be able to drive up the value. But going to trade with the Jets here. And just to keep things simple for the mock, I think since we're just doing one round, we can just focus on the first round picks with the trade. So we can do 7 and 23 for 1. There would certainly be additional compensation, but you guys can work out the second round picks and the future thirds and etc. at home. But for this mock, we can do 7 and 23 for 1. And the Jets will trade up and take Dante Moore, who, in my opinion, has put out extremely clean tape the last 3 weeks, especially. He is an effortless thrower, despite not being super experienced. He sees the field incredibly well, can get to the backside of his progressions, and is incredibly poised in the pocket. So I like Dante Moore as QB1, but it's a slim margin between him and Fernando Mendoza, so wouldn't fault them if they decide to go with him.
Yeah, Mendoza's definitely my guy, but it's tough because do the Saints decide to go with him at number 2? I don't really believe in Tyler Shough. I was surprised to see him go top 50, but he's playing, and it's been a mixed bag, as you would expect, and I don't really think Spencer Rattler played that bad to start the year, and then he just got benched for Shough. I respect seeing what you have, though. I don't think the Saints are absolutely tied down to either of those quarterbacks. So could this be a Fernando Mendoza? Maybe we'll experiment with the scenario where the Saints try and get as much draft capital as possible by trading out of this pick. They are more than just a quarterback away, I would say. And to make it easy, I think we're going to have the Browns moving up. I think they are probably the most incentivized to go out and get a QB. I'd like to see what Shedeur Sanders can end up becoming, because I think he's got starter capabilities. We'll see if that ends up happening. There's a long road. I mean, it's a 5th-round pick. The expectations really could not be lower, even though it's a gigantic name. I think if the Browns had the opportunity with multiple first-round picks to trade 5 and 26 to move up for 2, I think they would heavily consider it. Like, this is why you trade out of Travis Hunter to get Mason Graham. You get the extra pick. You have the flexibility to find your QB. I think that was really the big incentive the Browns had to trading back last year. So we're going to have the Browns move up and take my current QB1 in the class, Fernando Mendoza. I think he's got decent size, obviously. Really, I like prototypical. With decent movement skills, I think a pretty live arm, and his ability to throw under pressure, especially stand tall in the pocket, take shots, still deliver the ball accurately. I think he's outstanding. And would he be the number 1 overall pick in other classes? Maybe not, but I think there are a lot more things to be excited about with Mendoza than, I would say, like red flags, for example. I think there are very few. I think he's definitely athletic enough, and if that's the one big detractor, maybe you can say heavy RPO offense as well. I know you're an Indiana guy, James, but Mendoza, I think, is a stud.
Yeah, the strengths definitely take longer to write than the weaknesses when you're writing his scouting report. I would agree with the mobility and specifically the escapability. Like when the pocket heats up really quickly, can he get out of pressure, on a dime? He is a pretty good athlete. Like, read option in the red zone, he can take it to the house that kind of thing. But yeah, and it's kind of an RPO offense where there aren't a ton of high leverage throws, especially since they have been in a lot of blowouts this year. But the Ohio State game coming up this weekend, I mean, that's a big resume game for Mendoza. And like I said, the margin is thin enough between him and Moore that a lights out performance and he could eclipse him as QB1. For the Giants at 3 here, I think the thought tree kind of goes like this. My number 1 player on the field is Jordan Tyson. The injury history is pretty terrifying to me. So he would be out of consideration at 3. Best player available is Arvell Reese, but I think that's kind of redundant with what they already have on the roster. And so I think Carnell Tate then at 3 is the logical choice. He can play X. He is a really good athlete. I think probably like B+ linear athlete, but he's got the size and the frame and catch radius and everything that you look for. And he's taken a massive step forwards this year in terms of his attention to detail as a route runner, getting off of press coverage, how the urgency that he runs routes on the backside of plays. Like last year, you could really tell that he knew the ball was either going to Jeremiah Smith or Mecca Igbuka, just with the play speed on a snap-to-snap basis. And this year, I mean, he's locked in as a run blocker. Just love what he's put out on tape this year.
Yeah, he's definitely a really quality player. And with Malik Neighbors being a little bit of a question mark coming back from a torn ACL, it wouldn't hurt to add a big-time play receiver like Carnell Tate. I think you just can't rely on Darius Slayton, Jalen Hyatt, Wan'Dale Robinson, Isaiah Hodgins. And you have some expiring contracts in there as well. Raiders at 4, really just a terrible team. There's no way around it. They need a quarterback, but I'm not sure there is a quarterback worth taking with this pick. We talked a little bit about this in the video that will never be seen. Ty Simpson's play has just fallen off. I think he makes enough plays each week where there's still something there where you can latch onto as a potential starter. But the ball placement especially has just not been great. And even it feels like the decision-making has gone downhill. I think after the Florida State game, he was so good on a week-to-week basis of getting to the end of his drop and having the ball out immediately. As soon as he's on that back leg, boom, ball's out. And it felt like on time and on target was the nature of Ty Simpson until the past few weeks. And he really just has not been that guy. And I think what we have to remember with these draft prospects, especially those that have smaller sample sizes, it's such an evolving, study each week. Each game is another data point, another plot point, and it's not just, okay, this is who this player is because we know it up to week 6. It's like, just because we thought they could be a top 3 player in the draft at one point doesn't mean they are even a day 2 player in the draft as we get more and more data and more reps that we see on tape. But I can't really see a QB at 4 here to the Raiders. I just don't think the guy is there. I like Lenore Sellers. I can't imagine he ends up in this class. Not really a big Jaden Mayava guy. It's just like this. Sorsby's probably going back to school. It's like, who are you actually liking of this group? So we're just going to go BPA. And to me, that is Arvell Reese. I think he's the best player in this draft. I think he's going to be a full-time edge rusher in the NFL. But he can also play off ball, and he does so at a high level. So seems like a no-brainer pick here for the Raiders. They just get the best guy. And Arvell Reese is a phenomenal player. Really, really good. I think probably the best linebacker that I've watched since Roquan Smith. Very different play styles, but in terms of linebacker, Reese checks every box imaginable. Maybe coverage is the one kind of detractor, but everything else is incredible.
The one thing I will say, and I don't think this would affect the 4th pick at all, but there is kind of some buzz that Brendan Sorsby could come out in the draft and that he would potentially be a first round or top 50 pick. I could see him like going to the Senior Bowl, and then Tom Pelissero tweets out that he's been a late riser. Could see him being that type of player this year. So wouldn't take him off the table as like a guy that goes in the 20s.
Yeah, I've had Sorsby in a couple of first round mocks. It's just after the Utah game, kind of cooled on that a little bit.
I personally wouldn't feel good about it, but I could see it happening. So the Saints at 5, I'm really tempted to go with Caleb Banks here, actually.
Caleb Banks.
Yes.
Okay. He's only played, what, 2 games this year?
Yeah, he played 2 games, looked really good against Tennessee, coming back, looked fully healthy. I went back and rewatched his tape from last year because it had been so long, and it was writing his report. And I think in this class he's a top 10 player for sure. And with the Saints' needs, I do think that Caleb Banks could be on the table. I think he's, to me, based on what Peter Woods has put on tape this year, I would prefer Caleb Banks. With that being said, we've still got Jordan Tyson, who is a little bit redundant skill set wise with Chris Olave. I think that Jermod McCoy could potentially be in play. Ruben Bain obviously has dropped off a little bit, but yeah, I mean, Caleb Banks is my number 8 player on my board, and I'm gonna go with Banks here at 5.
That is fun. That's why these collab mock drafts are always fun. You get a little bit of a different take. And Banks was elite in 2024. Really, really powerful hands, and that is kind of like a hallmark of a good interior defensive lineman, even just defensive lineman in general. Anybody in the front 7, really. Yeah, Banks is fun. That's a fun one at 5.
I like to go out on a limb with mock drafts, and kind of mix it up because they get kind of stale if you just
They
do the
are
same
mock
thing
drafts.
over
They're
and over.
supposed to be fun. They're supposed to be
Yeah.
exploring different possible scenarios. Everybody always thinks they know exactly what's going to happen in the NFL draft, and then we get to it, and then it's completely nothing like anybody expected for the most part.
If you did the actual draft first round as a mock draft, you would get roasted like every year.
For sure.
Just because the actual outcomes nobody could predict.
And like, people don't seem to understand that very much. I saw a comment the other day, and it was like, "Oh, you think you know what you're talking about? Your final mock only had like 10 picks correctly predicted." I'm like, "That's so good. That's such a good number."
Yeah.
Like, what are we talking about here? Anyway, it's people don't understand it half the time, but these are supposed to be fun. Commanders at 6. I think I'm just gonna run in the card for Ruben Bain here. I think at times this year he's looked like the most dominant player in college football. It hasn't necessarily been that way over the past few or several weeks, past month or so. And I think it kind of has been a bit of an effort thing, and he hasn't been able to finish. And I still don't think it's going to matter too much in this draft where you're struggling to find blue chip players. I think Ruben Bain is as close to a blue chip player as you're going to find for the most part. I think he's going to end up as a top 10 player for me, and at a premium position. He just is the no-brainer pick at 6 here for a Commanders team that could absolutely upgrade their pass rush and get younger. They definitely need to do that. I don't know if Von Miller is going to be the guy for too much longer in Washington.
Yeah, I think that Ruben Bain, despite kind of falling off a little bit in this class, it's not like there's a ton of blue chip talent that is just waiting to pass him up. So I think top 10 is still in play for him for sure. Titans at 7 could go with a lot of different options. I think you could justify Caleb Downs here. I think that Jermod McCoy could also be in play. I'm going to go with Jordan Tyson. I made the joke kind of on the spot in our last recording, but they're going from having the old and injured receivers that end their career there, from the young and injured receivers that start their career there. Jordan Tyson to me has some of the cleanest tape in this class, but I think has missed something like 40% of his career snaps, and so he's going to be a guy where I think the grades are going to change a lot following the combine, just how the medical checks go for him.
Yeah, unfortunately we won't get full access to those, but we'll get the report about how it looks for the most part. But then you get to the draft sometimes, and we thought some of those things were fine, and then Trey Smith goes on day 3, and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah I don't even know if he was a top 50 pick. Same thing with Will Johnson, right? We might not know what happens until day 2 of the NFL draft. Who knows if Jordan Tyson will be a first round pick? Like that could happen, but he could also go top 5. Like he's that special of a player, especially in this class. At number 8, we have the Arizona Cardinals. And I will say, Corey, the other half of the Daft On Draft podcast, went Sonny Styles in the mock draft that will never be seen. And that's a fun pick. It's a possibility. It's not something I'm going to be doing here. I am going to go with the offensive line. And I know right tackle is a need. Right guard is a need. To me, that's Francis Maui-Noa here. I think he's probably a guard in the NFL. But as I've said, I feel like he's looked good enough at right tackle to where I think you try him at right tackle. Tackle is such a weak position in football right now, not just the NFL, but in football. There's so few elite tackles. And if you think Maui-Noa can be a starting caliber tackle, especially on that right side, because left tackle's fine with Paris Johnson Jr., I think you probably draft him at number 8. And if it doesn't work out at tackle, you can kick him inside to right guard. And I think you've got a starter caliber guard. And it may seem a little bit high at number 8, but I think you need to be able to protect whoever that quarterback ends up being. And certainly this would help running the football as well. And we know that's kind of the direction that the league is going now. So I think you can't have enough up front. You have these big interior defensive linemen getting paid so much. I think that only increases the value of interior offensive linemen. So even if Maui-Noa can't stick a tackle, I think the value still exists to me at right guard.
I agree with you totally on guard being, I think, a lot more valuable of a position than people give it credit for. So for the Rams, I was happy to see Emmanuel Forbes start to have a career resurgence, but that came to a screeching halt this past week. I still think you got to add some real talent and pedigree to the secondary. So I'm going to go with Jermon McCoy from Tennessee. Could definitely make the argument for Mansour Delane here. I see Delane get blown by on tape occasionally when he goes up against true deep threats. Casey Conception tape, I think, is a little bit concerning for him, but very, very clean outside of that this year, and great ball skills, very good short area athlete. So I think Mansour Delane could be in consideration, but McCoy I think has traits that I would prefer to take in the top 10.
Yeah, shorter arms too for Delane, and you just people hate to hear short arms because we've heard it in ad nauseum with Will Campbell a year ago. It does matter. Some teams have certain measurables where if you don't hit them, you're not going to be on their board. It just doesn't, whether it's a scheme fit or a fundamental philosophy from the organization, it does matter. All it takes is one team. I mean, Will Campbell was, the 4th overall pick? But it could be a reason why a Mansour Delane, who could be CB1 in this class, doesn't go in the top 20. It's a possibility. McCoy, so good in 2024. We haven't seen him in 2025, but elite top 5 player based on what he was in 2024. And you've got a little bit of a trend going here with Banks, Tyson, and McCoy. James Foster doesn't care if you're injured or not. He wants you. Number 10.
Yeah, at this point, it's like I do eventually apply injury to my board, but at this point there just isn't. College teams don't give us reliable information at all, or any information. So I kind of just evaluate the tape at this point, and then I'll make the corrections later in the process.
Yeah, it's fair. Number 10, we have the Cincinnati Bengals. Caleb Downs definitely seems like a good option, but as good of a player as he is, I think at the end of the day, he's a strong safety. I'm not going to say just a box safety, but that's kind of it. I mean, I don't know. Caleb Downs is so instinctive, so talented. He's the quarterback of the defense. He's got great attributes. I think his anticipation is incredible. But at the same time, he is a safety. The league, time and time again, has shown us they don't value that. They don't. And especially now, I feel like where the run game is kind of seeing a big-time resurgence in the NFL. Maybe a safety is even less valuable. But Downs, who can play in the box and shut down the run, maybe is not in that conversation. I don't know. Regardless of that, We typically don't see safeties go that high. In a class where there are few blue chip players, and Caleb Downs has certainly got an argument to be one of those guys, maybe he does go top 10. But I think there's also a chance that the NFL continues to show us what they've shown us, and that Downs probably goes somewhere in the teens. 10 is a possibility, but with Keldrick Falk on the board, this is the Bengals type of defensive end that they like.
Yeah.
He is a big body. The pass rush is not all the way there yet. I think that's
fans are gonna love to
no,
hear.
they're gonna be so pissed at this. But this is what they do. This is what they do.
Yeah.
Trey Hendrickson, I think, is probably gone after this season. You got to be aware of a potential replacement. I am in the camp of liking Shamar Stewart. I hope he ends up being a great player because he's such a good athlete. And I think like the fans were so quick to jump all over him when he didn't sign the contract with interesting language in it. But he's got to look out for himself. I don't know why people keep siding with the owners all the time. It's not just cut and dry like that. But anyway, Miles Murphy was like, it's pretty bad. They need something off the edge. And right now, it doesn't look like there's going to be a lot locked in for 2026. So Falk's the guy. He's good against the run. He's a big body. I think he's an inside-outside versatile type of player. And yeah, we'll see what he can become as a pass rusher. That's kind of what I have to say about Keldrick Falk for the time being.
Can't say I love the pick, but could definitely see it happening.
Yeah, I think it's a Bengals pick, and that's what these are, predictive.
So I feel like this sets up for either Jeremiah Love or Caleb Downs. Honestly, I'm sort of operating under the assumption that Ty Simpson goes back to school. And I'm not sure that I would take him at 9 or 11 here, but he would be in consideration for the Rams and Vikings for sure. But I am going to take Caleb Downs. I'm not calling him a linebacker, but like the role that he plays in Ohio State's defense a lot of times is kind of closer to a linebacker than like a free safety. And there's not a lot of man coverage on his tape, but I think he's probably the smartest player in this class, regardless of position. Not a lot of Caleb Downs coverage busts. He identifies route concepts before they are, readily, easily spottable. He's frequently the first player on the field to sniff something out. So I think that in a more diverse role, his instincts will translate. So I'm comfortable going with Caleb Downs there.
Yeah, I think also if the Vikings are able to retain Flores, this could be a very fun chess piece.
Oh, yeah.
I saw, not to like pile on, but I did see someone making a Caleb Downs to Ed Reed comparison, and I tweeted out, I go, what? I don't see this at all. It's just you take the best like deep safety of all time that could also come up and hit, there's no question, to a guy that is, like a quintessential strong safety, kind of play in the box. Seemed to be a ridiculous comparison to me, but
to me the comp is like Budda Baker.
Yeah, I could see Budda Baker. Obviously Downs is like way bigger, but in terms of play style, yeah, absolutely. Dolphins at 12. Could this be Ty Simpson? It's an interesting proposition. I think I'm going to go Mekhi Lemon. I always have him going somewhere in like the 20s. It's been very common for me to give him to the Browns at like 20 or 21. But obviously, as the Jags win games, that pick was getting lower and lower and lower. And it's not even on the board right now. So Mekhi Lemon, to me, in a world where Tyreek Hill may never play again, and I look at the Dolphins' current receiver room, and I see Jalen Waddle, who I think is an absolute monster type player, I don't see a lot else. And I think Mekhi Lemon is reliable. He can play the slot. I think he can also play on the outside. He's got such great route running nuance as well. I mean, I think you posted a clip of him just being the blind spot finder. And it's like, those are, veteran type skills. And you see, Jackson Smith and Jigba do that at an elite level. Yeah. And it seems like you don't necessarily need to be the most explosive or the biggest receiver, the best athlete on the field, if you understand how to get open and if you are someone that can turn 50-50 balls into 80-20 balls despite not even being 6 foot. But Kai Lemon's like 5'11", 190, and he plays like he's 6'2", 210. He might be bigger than 190, but somewhere in that range, 195. I love Makai Lemon. So I'm going to get him up way higher than usual and to a team that I know really could use corner. But we just talked about Mansour Delane, and I don't know that he's going to go this high in the draft. And I'm like, who else do you go with? Maybe Peter Woods. But again, he hasn't been that good this year. Like freshman Peter Woods, I'm like, this is a future number 1 overall pick type player. And then last year he was really good too. But this year,
he played his career out in reverse. You would be like, wow, this guy's has developed.
Yeah, unfortunately. And I think a lot of it could be, hey, Clemson sucks this year. And if you're used to a certain standard, maybe it's tough to play, as hard as you possibly can when you're like, for what? But that's like, that's not exactly a personality trait I'm looking for very high in the draft. So I don't know. I think the potential with Peter Woods is crazy, and it'd be a nice Christian Wilkins replacement. They've been searching for that. Peter Woods is a very different interior defensive lineman to Kenneth Grant. But if it's not receiver, interior defensive lineman, or corner here, I'm not sure what they would do. I don't think there's an offensive lineman that's a slam dunk worth taking at 12 for Miami.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Chiefs at 13. I think I've maybe made this pick like in 3 or 4 consecutive mocks, but we're going David Bailey. Chiefs fans are tired of watching George Karlaftis. Probably, I mean, you're still going to be watching him because of that contract, but we're going to get some juice off the edge to pair with him. And I mean, I think that David Bailey, for a speed rusher type, a guy of his profile, he doesn't have the elite bend that I want to see, but I think his explosiveness and first step is elite, and he's really improved as a power rusher this year. When you watch his Stanford tape, it's pretty much all, it's, ghost, spin, swipe, ghost. This year he's mixing in the long arm. He does have really long arms despite being a bit undersized, and so he's not going to be the complete 3-down impact player, but just juice off the edge. That's what he's going to bring you.
Yeah, he's definitely weak against the run, and we've talked about that on this channel quite a bit about why David Bailey isn't like a slam dunk top 10 pick, because he might just be a pass rusher, and that's kind of it. Kind of a weird fit, like not the typical guy that Spags would go after. Typically they like the 270-ish like pound edge rushers, but Bailey is, he's proven to be a little bit more rugged this year. So, like, I don't know. I could see them wanting to actually get somebody that can get after the QB at an elite level, and David Bailey certainly can. Steelers at 14. I mean, you need a quarterback so badly. And the problem with the Steelers is they're just consistently good enough to be out of the range of a top QB. But maybe they buy into Ty Simpson. He's still on the board. The way I like to run my mocks is if they're draft eligible, they're fair play. Because until they're going back to school, they're in the draft, essentially, if we're going to try and predict it. I'm going to go Ty Simpson here. I know we talked about some of his negative traits. Or was that in the video that didn't come out? Basically, here's the deal. This guy used to be, after the Florida State game at least, on time, on target. Lately, the decision-making and especially the ball placement has just not been up to the standard of a first-round pick. And Ty Simpson already needed to be perfect based on his body type. Like, Ty Simpson kind of has the Julian Sayin thing going for me, where he's not that big. I'm not sure he's as big as he's listed. And he's got to put his whole body into some of these throws. And I just want to see easier arm talent, because I think it gives you the opportunity to play up to your ability when everything's not perfect. And I think Ty Simpson might be one of those QBs that needs a pretty perfect situation to thrive. But at the same time, I think he's a better prospect than Kenny Pickett was. And Kenny Pickett was a first-round pick to the Steelers. So to the Steelers that are just constantly lately in quarterback purgatory, and purgatory as a team, I think this team just needs to hit the reset button. I know it's going to be unpopular, but the Steelers this offseason, I think, should trade TJ Watt. I think they should trade DK Metcalf if they can. I think they should try and clean house. what a legendary head coach Mike Tomlin is, I think they've got to go with something different. But until that happens, I think the Steelers are still going to try to be competitive, and Ty Simpson makes sense here to me. I can rationalize it.
Yeah, a fun stat is out of quarterbacks in this class, Ty Simpson is the only one with over 20 under center dropbacks this year, and he has 42, which is important because that is a lot of the learning curve for young quarterbacks coming into the NFL. Is like, how do you do a 5-step drop if you've never had to do that in college? So I think that NFL teams will value that, even though there has been a lot of inconsistent play over the last few weeks. For the Panthers at 15, I'm looking for any way possible to get Trevin Wallace off the field. And the best route is a great one, and it's Sonny Styles, Ohio State linebacker, former Arizona Cardinal as of the mock that wasn't released. Yep. But going with him here at the Panthers 15, was a safety in high school, and he's going to get the Isaiah Simmons comparisons, but that is valid only in terms of like athleticism and body type. They are similar size and speed and everything, but Styles reads the game quickly. He can stack and shed blocks. He can run the seam with tight ends and slot receivers. He's smart in zone coverage. Like he's played linebacker full time for 2 years, plays a traditional like translatable role. So it's not really, it's a projection in the sense that he's an NFL draft prospect, but it's not really a projection from a positional standpoint.
Yeah, I think he also knows how to use his size a lot better than Isaiah Simmons did. If let's say they're both listed near 238 or 240, Sonny Styles is like a 250-pound 240, if that makes any sense. I know this sounds insane. And Isaiah Simmons is more like a 215 at 240. It's like one guy actually knows how to use his body, and Isaiah Simmons completely did not. And maybe that's a mental thing. And I think at linebacker, when you're reading keys and trying to, fit the run and fill lanes, that stuff does matter. Like, you can only be as athletic as your confidence lets you be. And when the game's moving too fast, like it did for Isaiah Simmons a lot, and they could not find a position for him at all, it created a lot of problems, and that's why we're considering him like a draft bust now, whereas Sonny Styles is very different. But, of course, he's not going to the Cardinals in this scenario. He lasted until 15, and I think, would be LB1 in a lot of classes, but Arvell Reese exists, and they're also different players quite, but that's a fun one for Carolina. And I will say, that would have been my pick at 16 for the Cowboys. So, got to reevaluate a little bit here. And, like, Peter Wood stands out to me. This feels like absolutely the range where he could be off the board, just because the potential is so high. Like, if Kenneth Grant can go at 13 or wherever he went, Peter Woods can go at 16 easily. But the Packers are paying Kenny Clark now. They're paying Quinnen Williams after trading for him. I think you can never have enough interior defensive linemen, but do you want to do that at 16? I'm not sure you do. And then if you're looking at linebacker, I like C.J. Allen quite a bit. 16 feels a little early, but I'm close to rationalizing it. Off the edge, I don't know where Cassius Howell goes. He's a really good athlete. He's got tiny arms, and this does matter. And same problem that I've talked about so much with this class of edge rushers. A lot of them are small, designated pass rushers, and those guys don't go that high in the draft. Howell, height, R. Mason Thomas, Joshua Josephs. Like, it's easier for me to see, even if I'm not that high on them as a player, it's easier for me to see, obviously, TJ Parker, but Mateo Uiagalelei, especially Quincy Rhodes, even though he hasn't been amazing this year. It's like the frame and the potential is elite, and teams value that. Zion Young, Derek Moore. I could see these guys going higher, but I don't really love the available edge rushers. I could also easily see Jerry Jones punching the Jeremiah Love ticket, just because he's Jerry Jones and Jeremiah Love is an explosive playmaker at running back, and they don't have a guy there. 1-year deal currently for Javonte Williams. But all that to say, I am actually going to go C.J. Allen. A really good athlete. Okay. It may seem a bit early for him, but I don't know. I think linebacker, again, is becoming more valuable. We could see these guys going a little bit earlier than we're used to seeing. And with Styles off the board, maybe Dallas doesn't want to wait on a linebacker. Although, I like the linebacker class quite a bit. So, I don't know.
It's a really good class.
There are a lot of options. But I don't know that Anthony Hill's a first-round player. I don't know that Deontay Lawson's a first-round player. Whit Weeks. And unfortunately, no Josiah Trotter in the simulator, because he might end up getting first-round hype. But we're going to go C.J. Allen, good athlete, and at least in 2024 was fantastic. And 2025 has been okay. He got injured in the Texas game, but I still think he's got first-round potential.
I like it. This is tough for the Lions. Mansour Lane is tempting. Really good player. I mean, Peter Woods, honestly, just really based on value and best player available at 17. But I think I'm going to go with my top-ranked guard, which is Emmanuel Pregnon out of Oregon. He has a prototypical frame, massive wingspan. Believe he's like 325 if you want to click on him. But he moves his feet like he's one of these, 318. Moves his feet like he's one of these undersized zone blockers. He's been one of my biggest risers this year. I mean, his tape at USC was like
so not good.
mid 7th round. Not even worth really grading quality of tape. And this year, I mean, probably I did not mean to do that. Okay. 7 or 8 weeks into the season, probably
6, 7.
Yeah. Probably 7 or 8 weeks into the season, I was like, oh, he's grading out really well. Caught up on his tape, and I'm like, this is a top 50 player. He's continued to rise for me. So I'm a big fan of Emmanuel Pregnon.
Yeah, I know. I saw Brugler say that he was someone that would have been drafted last year. I didn't especially see that. And this is one of those cases where going back to school or transferring to a better situation can completely unlock you as a player. It's a bit of an interesting fit here for Detroit that has shown when healthy they have two really good young guards. So I wonder if they could do the Graham Glasgow thing and move one of those guys to center, or maybe even try Pregnon at center because of his movement skills. So it's interesting, but I mean, a lot of times, we see interior offensive line is interior offensive line. It's not just you're only a left guard, you're only a right guard, you're only a center. Some of these, it is fluid for a reason. It is listed as interior offensive line for a reason on a lot of these draft boards, because it's easier, I think, to move from left guard to right guard than it is left tackle to right tackle. Center is a bit more of an interesting conversation there, because not all these guys have history with snapping the ball. But in terms of best interior offensive lineman, I don't hate this at all.
And it's an impossible thing to say from the outside if they don't have tape at multiple positions.
Completely agree. I'm gonna go back-to-back guards here. Jeremiah Love is tempting, but I'm not gonna do the Raiders thing where you pass on Membu to take Genty, and it's a little bit of a different situation because Vega Ioane is not an all-pro potential tackle. He's only going to be a guard, but guard is such a big need for Houston, and I think you need to protect CJ Stroud. Yes, the running back class is not great, so Jeremiah Love to the next running back has a pretty significant drop, but I'm taking the guard. I feel really good about Ioane, and I can't rationalize a running back with that offensive line. I can't do it. As good as Jeremiah Love is.
So we have really put the Ravens in a sticky situation because they've got to find an upgrade at right guard. But I think they can do that in the second round. There are some good tackle to guard converts, and we can see if maybe Basantis makes it to the second round. I'm going to go with defensive lineman, assuming that Travis Jones leaves in free agency. I think Peter Woods is a pretty clear replacement there. And honestly, even though it's been a disappointing season, I don't think it's been bad enough that it's really justified for him to fall to 19, but that's just kind of how the board went.
Yeah, that's just sometimes how it goes. And Nnamdi Madubuike may never play again. Like these are possibilities. Unfortunately, he's got a big time neck injury, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, interior defensive line is an overwhelming need, I would say, for Baltimore. We'll see what happens. Linebackers off the board at the Tampa Bay pick is not ideal, because this is usually, if Sonny Styles is there, I'm punching that card in, or it's CJ Allen. So you look at the available linebackers, nobody really matches up here at 20. So we've got to consider other options. Tight end always seems to be a need according to PFF, but like I don't think Kate Otten is so bad that you need to draft a tight end at 20, even though I love Kenyon Sadiq. And Otten's not going to be there forever. I do get that, but I'm still probably wanting to improve this defense. I also think receivers in play with the age and injury situation of like a Mike Evans who may never play again. I keep saying that, but these are possibilities. Chris Godwin to me always seems to be hurt, and then I check the numbers and he's not hurt that often. It's just weird. But I mean, like Tez Johnson's playing so much. I feel like receivers in play. But I'm gonna go, I think, Cassius Howell here. Explosive off the edge. I think he's a great fit in Todd Bowles' defense. And you need more pass rush. I think Howell could be really, really effective in Tampa.
Yeah, man, Cassius Howell is a tough one because the tape is so good. But, I mean, he is... to be clear, this is not like 32-inch arms. I think he has 30.5-inch arms. So, like, me and Corey on our podcast, we were trying to find starting edge rushers that had his arm length, and we couldn't. So, but I mean, yeah, the tape is undeniable for sure. For the Bills, I'm going to go with some speed at receiver, and I'm going to take Texas A&M's Casey Conception. He will probably get typecasted as like a slot gadget type of receiver, and he is good after the catch and can do all that kind of stuff, but he is second in this class in terms of the percentage of his routes where he faces press coverage, and he has a high success rate against it. Like this is a guy that burns press off the line, a detailed route runner, outstanding change of direction skills to get out of breaks, and has the vertical speed that a lot of the Bills receivers have been lacking. So that gives them some juice for Josh Allen to throw to.
Yeah, he was the top portal receiver probably, and I question the Texas A&M fit because of their history with throwing the football and developing wide receivers, but he has been outstanding. And I mean, Concepcion's also been an incredible return man this year. I think I had this last week. I'm like, how do the Bills, who have one of the most elite special recess football type of quarterbacks ever in Josh Allen, how do they not have a vertical threat receiver that can play that brand of football with him? There's nobody. Like, I think Concepcion is like the perfect fit here. So I definitely like that. Yeah, I think I had it last week. Philly at 22. Man, Jeremiah Love is still sticking out there. Obviously not a fit here at 22, but could it be? I don't know. That would be interesting. Saquon would be under contract for what, 2 more years? I think, did he sign a 3 or 4 year deal with Philly? This is year 2. I think it might have been a 3-year deal. I don't know. That's an interesting possibility, but I don't think that would happen here at 22. I look at the Eagles. I look at Mansour Delane. I think it's kind of a perfect fit. Guy that can play the outside, play the boundary, and that's what the Eagles need. You get to move, Cooper DeJean to a more natural fit, either at slot or back at safety. Not that he can't play the boundary. Obviously was really effective there at Iowa, but I think in the NFL, he's most effective in the slot. You have Quinyon Mitchell on one side, but they're searching for a reliable starter opposite him. I'm going with Mansour Delane. Great transfer from Virginia Tech.
That was going to be my pick for the Titans. Without that option, I think the 2 choices that I'm deciding between would be Jeremiah Love and Blake Miller out of Clemson, and then move J.C. Latham to guard. But I'm going to take Jeremiah Love. Honestly, this is the first time I can remember since like the Bishop Sankey years watching the Titans and seeing such bad running back play. I mean, that's usually the one thing you can hang your hat on with Tennessee, is that they've got some good running backs. But yeah, Tony Pollard has negative juice at this point, and we're going to upgrade that position.
That's definitely a fun fit. That is. And I mean, you're building a pretty good young core there. Jordan Tyson, Cam Ward, Jeremiah Love. And then I like Chimere Dike. And Gunnar Helm, I like, obviously, as well. Hookem, can we get some horns up in the chat? There's no chat. But I like that. That's a fun one. And it's just, he's too good to be here at this point. At some point, we have to say, hey, it doesn't matter that he plays running back. He's a game changer in multiple ways. So I definitely like that. You know what I think is kind of a fun idea here? I'm not going to do it, but I do want to throw out the idea of Kenyon Sadiq to replace George Kittle. Kittle's more rugged and can actually block defensive ends, I would say. But Sadiq is such a good blocker in space against, linebackers and DBs. He really is awesome, and he's such a great receiving threat. I think he'd be awesome in Kyle Shanahan's offense, but I'm not going to do that. Spencer Fano's here. The 49ers, I think, have been searching for an upgrade at right tackle for some time now. And also on the other side, Trent Williams isn't getting any younger. Fano, to me, just makes perfect sense here. He is such an elite mover. I worry about the power a little bit, and the tape hasn't been elite this year. But to me, at 24, he is absolutely worth drafting.
Yep, that's probably where I would have gone as well. So the Chargers are another interior offensive line team. Could also be an edge team. I don't know if I would go receiver in the first round here. Definitely not going tight end.
They've got a Rondé Gadsden now. He's a beast.
Yeah. So I think that, I mean, this is a tough pick, honestly. Could consider somebody like Kelly Jones out of Mississippi State, the corner.
I think this is where Caden Proctor at guard gets interesting to me too. I think I had that last week, where I'm like, he's the type that they like. Is Caden Proctor not Mekhi Becton at guard? There are some
who I'm gonna go
overlays there.
At guard is Austin Searveld, the tackle for he might be listed as a tackle on plays left tackle, but I think almost definitely going to move into guard, and probably the best run blocking tape in this interior offensive line class. Really clean pass pro. I would love for him to get like a full year of tape at guard, but feel good taking him at 25.
Heavy Ohio State draft here, but it's been the first time since number 11. So it's been some time, and it may not be the last time. I mean, Caden McDonald's sticking out there. I think that's an interesting one. He has an argument to be DT2 in this class. The Saints at number 26, picking for the second time here after moving down as the Browns moved up for Fernando Mendoza. And with Caleb Banks at number 5 to improve the interior D-line. This is where I'm probably going to consider a receiver, because I like this receiver class a lot. I think there's some really good players still available. And I'll tell you, you said Jordan Tyson was redundant with Olave's skill set. I'll tell you who absolutely is not, is Chris Bell, who I think absolutely has first-round potential in this class. He is a big body. He is fantastic after the catch, but I think he's also a decent route runner, especially for his size as well. I think and he can win down the field. And now, will that play in the NFL the same way as it does at Louisville? I'm not going to guarantee that, but in terms of someone you can get the ball to and have him work down the field, and he's good after the catch, I like what he could do for this offense. If you're going to try and build around Tyler Shuck or Spencer Rattler or whoever it is, you're not taking a quarterback at 2. You're not going to take one here at 26, but might as well get a weapon for whoever that quarterback ends up being.
Yeah, I think that's a great fit. Cowboys at 27. So this is going to be where Blake Miller comes off the board for me. Was not a huge fan of his tape over the summer, but he has really impressed me this year. 35-inch arms, probably the best like linear athlete in this class as far as like range on pulls and climbing to the second level. Doesn't have overwhelming power at the point of attack in the run game, but you know you've got plenty of that with Tyler Smith and Tyler Booker. He has outstanding foot speed in pass pro. And then the length with 35-inch arms really expands his margin of error and lets him, you know, cut off angles to the outside. So I'm a big fan of Blake Miller back into the first or top of the second.
Yeah, he's been really good this year. I was looking for a Tyler potentially to get in there. Keep building that Tyler offensive line. Can't believe they let Tyler Biotish walk. It's a travesty.
That is a travesty. We've got Tyler Onyedim from Texas A&M could start building that on the defensive line.
That's a heck of an idea.
And then we've got Tyler Miller out of Iowa State and Tyler Needham out of Rutgers are both offensive tackles. I don't know if they're in the PFF system, but
I think I got the Dak replacement.
Should be on any Cowboys fans' radar.
Tyler Van Dyke, Miami legend. Seattle at 28. Interior offensive line. We've seen quite a run on that. And it's so... I don't know. Do I want to go with a linebacker or a corner here? Because it doesn't really seem to matter. Like, they'll just have anybody playing linebacker and they're fine. And, like Ty Okada has been sick this year. Yeah. Like, I'm like, what are we doing with this Seattle team? It's just anybody in the Mike McDonald defense is just elite. Like, Nicky Manwari's in the perfect scenario to be successful, and he has been. I think, given the current interior offensive line, I mean, I guess you could consider, like, you know, moving somebody, but it's not great. I'm going to go defense. I'm going to reunite Brandon Cisse with Nicky Manwari, and we're going to add a ton of speed to this already pretty fast Seattle defense. Cisse has decent enough size and really, really good athleticism. He's somebody that Dane Brugler is really high on. I've only seen a couple of games of Cisse, but the speed definitely pops. And Seattle, I think, could use an upgrade at corner. Cisse makes some sense here to me.
So the Rams, we took, was it Jermod McCoy with the first pick for the Rams?
Yes.
Yes, it was. You know, Sorsby realistically might be somebody here. To me, the tape is just too inconsistent to justify that. Maybe that changes once reports start coming out.
Could you add a fifth tight end here?
Could we invent 15 personnel?
They actually use all four of their tight ends. It's unbelievable how many tight ends are on the field.
The Rams are another kind of similar case where it's like you want to draft a linebacker to them, but I mean they just extended Nate Landman, and it's like whoever they play there.
He's been good.
Yeah, and I've been a fan of Landman since the Falcons days, but I think linebacker they're good. We could go with either tackle. I mean, Caleb Lomu is still on the board. I've been disappointed with Caleb Lomu in the run game this year. There's just no power, like no ability to displace people off the line of scrimmage, and I was hoping that would kind of evolve over this next season just with added play strength, but it hasn't really. He has, however, exactly what you're looking for in pass pro, and you know, plays left tackle, but it's kind of like what we were talking about. Like I honestly have no way of knowing about a guy's left-right versatility until that's a purely personal thing for him and what he's comfortable with. But in this universe, we'll say that he can play either side.
Only a redshirt sophomore.
And he was announced with the seniors on senior day. So.
I was gonna say, I'm like, is he not Senior Bowl eligible? He surely can't be a redshirt sophomore. I don't know. All right, you're going Caleb Lomu?
Yep.
Yeah, we'll see on that. Because obviously this would be like your Havenstein replacement at right tackle.
Yeah.
Patriots at 30. I'm going to do it again. I've done it before, but Hunter Henry's not going to be there forever. And getting Drake May, Kenyon Sadiq, I think would be absolutely electric. Like, they're searching for more at receiver. Stephon Diggs, I think, is fine. Pop Douglas, I think, is fine. They got a lot of, like, Kayshon Boutte is fine. You've seen some big games from some of these receivers, but they're lacking that true wide receiver one, in my opinion. Getting Kenyon Sadiq to work the middle of the field, I think, would be super fun. And he's an awesome athlete. I think he can block well enough. It's not going to be elite against defensive linemen because he's only like 240 pounds. But he's effective in space.
So the Bears, I think there are so many defensive linemen that I have graded like late second to late first to mid second. So like Christian Miller, Caden McDonald, Big Citrus, Amari Washington.
Big Citrus.
And then I even think Bear Alexander and Lee Hunter would be kind of at the bottom end of that tier.
Bear Alexander's been fun this year. I don't know where he's gonna go because the character stuff that is it's probably gonna be a thing with all the different transfers and reports about him, but like his potential is as good as anybody. Like, this is a former elite prospect, so it's like the hype would not be misplaced.
Yeah, the Oregon has kind of turned into the USC like rehabilitation program with Pregnon and Bear Alexander. Just like, if you've got any guys like 1 year of eligibility left that USC couldn't develop, send them to Oregon. They'll get them fixed up. With that being said, I am going to go with Caden McDonald, who's my top graded defensive lineman available. Don't love him as a pass rusher. I think that aspect of his game is a bit limited, but just like square raw power, a true nose tackle that can clog up the A gap.
Yeah, I think he's, definitely at least the best defensive lineman available here. Everyone else is like a nose tackle, probably. Or, it's interesting because like Amari Washington, like I've seen him push
Miller
the pocket.
Can do both.
That's fair as well because he's not like Big Citrus, like 340 pounds or whatever, 330. But yeah. Who's awesome? Have you watched Darrell Jackson?
Yeah, I have.
He's flashed. I not consistent, but
I like the idea of him. It's kind of, me and Corey were just talking about it on the podcast. It's like if Darrell Jackson was a true junior, I would be a little bit more willing to bet on him having flashes. But it's like, if you're however old he is, like he's one of the older prospects in this class, and you've still just only got a bull rush, and I don't know, it's a little bit hard for me, but he's like 99.9 percentile on arm length, weight, wingspan, size. Like, they don't make people like him, and he's also incredibly explosive, so he's going to get drafted early, and guys like that, there's still a chance, there's still an outcome that they put it all together. So it'll be interesting.
I'll make the Florida State connection because it's easy to do, but I almost wonder if the Josh Farmer thing's not going to happen, where like the draft comes around and he's getting talked about like a top 50 player. We'll see.
Yeah.
But I was pleasantly surprised when I watched him. It's only it's a small game sample, but anyway. Denver at 32. I don't really know where to go here because they definitely don't need a center. They just extended Wattenberg. I would like a field-stretching wide receiver, but Casey Concepcion's off the board, and the only guy that fits that description to me is Chris Brazzell, who I don't know that he's going to be a first-round player.
Probably not.
So this puts me in kind of an interesting spot. Brazzell's not quite like the other Tennessee receivers where he actually has a catch radius and knows how to use his hands to catch the ball.
Right.
But, I look at this team and I'm like, their defense is so good. and I want to get Avion Terrell off the board, but he is not a fit here. Man, could I?
It could be an Emmanuel McNeil Warren spot potentially.
Yeah, he's a freak. I went into this thinking that I wanted to get some safeties off the board. AJ Halsey had another good game on Saturday.
Dylan Thieneman had a good game.
Kamari Ramsey is definitely fun.
Yeah,
Genesis
really
Smith is. Have you watched him?
Yes,
he's interesting.
I like Genesis Smith a lot.
He's interesting. Bray Hubbard had a pick
too. Love Bray Hubbard.
The safety class is not bad. They're a bunch of fun names. I'll tell you what I'm gonna do to make it interesting. Is I'm gonna have a team move up to pick number 32 here.
Okay.
And we're going to take a shot on Lenoris Sellers. No one's going to like this, but that's just how it is. This Raiders team took the best player in the draft at number 4. They are not far from this pick now. The Raiders do need a quarterback. We'll say 36 in a second round pick next year. Or maybe a third. It doesn't really matter a ton, but I'm going to have the Raiders move back into the first round. Yes, it's with the Broncos. It's a division trade for a quarterback. It's a little bit weird, but the Broncos may not even end up with this pick. I don't know where to go for Denver based on who's available. And I get a second to talk about Lenoris Sellers, the most overhated prospect in the class. He's not perfect. He's still, a work in progress. But Sellers is way more accurate than people are giving him credit for. It's not like an Anthony Richardson situation. Yes, I think Sellers goes back to school, but I think Ty Simpson goes back to school or transfers. Same deal with Sellers, and I took him at 14. Sellers is draft eligible. He's got a ton of potential, and he's not just, hey, here's this really big, strong athlete with great sack avoidance. He can throw the football. I'm telling you, when I say South Carolina is the worst environment in the Power 4 or 5 for a quarterback, it's up there. The O-line's terrible. The receivers don't catch the ball and they don't get open. Even the structure of the offense is awful. Sellers could be a star. When he transfers to Miami or wherever and lights the world on fire next year, I'm going to remember this day. Anyway, I'm getting Sellers at 32. Would the Broncos be the one giving the Raiders this pick? I don't know, but it makes it a little bit interesting to talk about for a second. What do you think about Sellers? Am I crazy here?
I love Sellers as a 2027 prospect. Like I'm excited about what he could be if just transfer to a team that has a functional offensive line. I would say that probably when I'm watching like edge rushers and I'm sort of evaluating level of competition, South Carolina's offensive line would be up there with like Michigan State tackles as basically being FCS or like G5 as far as how I view them, like a sack against South Carolina's O-line. So that kind of tells you what he's dealing with. I think there's definitely areas of his game that he's got to clean up, and I would feel pretty nervous about him starting next year, but he's going to be high on my board if he comes back to school heading into to next season.
The one obvious thing for Sellers, I think, is just he's inexperienced and he'll have something open and he just won't throw it.
Yeah.
That to me is like the standout thing when I watch him, but yeah, I think the potential is great. And he wouldn't have to start right away because you get to run Geno out there for another year. How fun is that? But check out James Foster, No Flags Film, and the Daft On Draft podcast. Both will be linked below. Corey is with us in spirit. Maybe I'll cut out a little picture of him in the bottom right at some point. And we'll get him on the screen to be with us. Everyone say a prayer for Corey. And any closing thoughts?
No, man, I appreciate you having me on. Blast to do it, and we'll have to get you on our podcast sometime.
Yep, check it out. We'll do another video over there. Link down in the description. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy.